Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Sports and Mimosa. It has been it has been 2 months since the last time we chatted. And in that girls chat, we were like, we're back because we had been away. So it has just been crazy, like life. I know I've been preoccupied with wedding
Aaron got
stuff. So
married.
yes, got married June 2nd. So I'm happy that that's over, but I'm excited to go in this next chapter, and only over because planning a wedding is a lot. So watching sports at the same time, I'm like, okay, I want to post this, or we need to talk about this, but scheduling.
Mhm.
Um, so
It's been a
yeah,
lot.
I've been doing that. And I got to go to my Yankees game. I think we talked about that on the last one, that I was going there and wanted to
Yes,
try that 99 burger, and I
you
got
got
it. I
it.
was 10th in line, ninth or 10th in line to get it. And it was well worth it, except for Aaron wasn't playing that day and the Yankees lost. But
Mm.
going to New York was great, and seeing the stadium was great. Our last day, well, that night of the game, that the smoke started rolling in from
Yeah.
the Canada fires. And so you couldn't see anything. Like it looked night, like pitch black when the
Mhm.
sun was still out, because that's when the so we couldn't
I
see a
was trying
sunset.
not to text you because you were technically on your honeymoon. I was like, I don't want to like distract her, but it was like, are you like, are you there with this? And then that was also when some other news stuff happened. And I'm like, I'm sorry to text you, but like, you're the only person I can text right now. Enjoy your honeymoon. Talk when you get back. Like,
Right, right, which we're going to get into, because that was some stuff. Like it's a lot that has gone on in the last 2 months, but
yes.
I'm excited for us to be back. But what have you been up to in these 2 months?
I don't think I've gone anywhere. I think
You've been to
well,
some
like I've
events,
done
huh?
like some things. Wait, what?
I said some events. Some
Yes, I've been
music.
doing a lot of events locally. But I don't think I've left the state majorly. If I'm like trying to remember, I'm like, what was the last time? But I have booked some things that have to do with baseball. So next weekend, I have a work conference in Detroit, and the Tigers are in town. So I
You're gonna go.
convinced my coworkers to go with me to the baseball
Yes.
game because I don't know what else to do in Detroit. And I was like, look, I try to go to every baseball stadium, like if possible. And they're like, yeah, let's go. So I have a
You got
Detroit
good
Tigers game.
coworkers.
Wait, what?
You
I
got
know.
good
But so I
coworkers.
was like, and I was like, you don't have to say yes, but like, and she's like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, okay. So we're gonna do that. And then I also booked Boston for my birthday, which is very on brand for me because one, I'm a big Kennedy fan. Two, I have always wanted to do Fenway to see the Boston Red Sox, and I'm not a big Boston fan for baseball wise, but they're playing. You're gonna laugh at me, but they're playing the Dodgers that weekend, and I'm like, I don't like either of these teams really. So
Well,
like,
rep the Dodgers.
I
You better
just
rep
like,
them.
okay. Well, it's funny because the Astros get there like as soon as I leave. So I was like, well,
Oh,
I would, and I want to, like, I don't want to be against the home team when I'm there because I always buy a hat to commemorate, but it was like,
yeah,
it's Boston. So I was like, I have to like go when like they're not playing someone who like I really like. So then it was like,
right.
oh, the Dodgers, like, okay, that's like against us in the 27, like the World Series. So we don't like Dodgers right now. So I was like, okay, we can go that week. And then we also might be going, I am going to St. Louis in September, and the Phillies are playing the Cardinals that weekend. So I'm
Okay.
like, oh, maybe we can get a game too. So I've had a very heavy travel booked with some baseball coming up, but I haven't been able to go see my Astros. My family and I try to do it once a year, and this year, like, no one's in the state at the same time with
Oh,
the
man.
like.
Y'all
If
are busy
we're
this
home, the
summer.
Astros are away, or if the Astros are home, like one of us is somewhere. So hopefully, but my mom has been very like, oh, well, we'll just go to the World Series game because she
Well,
went
like
with me
she's
that one
thinking
time.
it.
I'm like,
She's
I'm
thinking
so
it.
glad you were like, okay,
I
maybe I'll
don't
go
know,
your credit
mom.
card this time.
Right?
But yes, so that's
No, but
what,
she's thinking it.
yeah, a lot of work stuff, but no complaints. Everything's been great, and I'm currently watching the U.S. Open. So if anyone's actually watching the podcast and see my facials, that's probably
Yes,
what's going on.
for,
Felt like full
for golf.
disclosure here.
We were talking about that because it's golf, and I immediately, when she was like, I'm watching US Opens, I was like, Tennessee? I mean, tennis is on. So golf,
Yes.
which we'll get into. But no, I love that going to the games where the cities you are. That's what we do. That's one on our bucket list too, is the ballparks. And so the Yankees were one, and I was upset because they were playing the Dodgers the week or a couple of days before we got there, but they were in Los Angeles. So I was like,
Yes.
dang. Um, but no, yeah, I love that. And Fenway is our next one we want to go to. Like Marcus wanted to go to the Yankee Stadium because it's the Yankees, even though it wasn't the old,
Right.
the old stadium, it's the newer one. But yeah, Fenway is on there. There's a bar underneath Fenway Park where you can look onto the outfield. And so
Mhm.
we did have a burger there because we went to Boston, but it wasn't baseball season.
Of course.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't think it was baseball season. No, it was, but they weren't there.
They're probably
We
away.
got,
Yeah.
got to eat, sit in that bar, and that was pretty cool. So I was like, I can only imagine this during game,
Yeah.
when it's a game here, how
They're
crazy it is.
also like ridiculously priced. Like,
Tickets,
I guess like going to such a historic
yeah,
one. And then like of course my really good friend's going with me, and I need to start traveling. Again, I love her, but I need to start traveling with people who like sports, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to cover her ticket because there's no way I can convince her to
we're
spend
gonna want to.
$100 to sit in right field
But then
for
she's gonna have so much fun.
yeah. But I do, that's why, and so it's funny because she's starting to talk to a guy who is really big on sports. So I'm like, come with me and
Yes,
you can like
and
have
that's our
things to talk
audience.
about with him. So,
That's our audience. Yes, we want
yes.
you to learn about sports and
And
going to
it's
a
so
game.
funny because we well, she was like, hey, I'm looking at Boston jerseys. And I was like, no, we don't buy their jerseys. And she was like, when? I was like, we don't like them enough to get the jersey. I was
Rule
like,
number
but
one when you go.
yes. And I was like, you don't, no, we don't, no. Like I go,
Yeah.
we buy a hat, but we're not buying jerseys. And then I confused her. And so for everyone listening, I turned 33 this year, and I've always coined 33 to be my Larry Bird year. And so that's why I'm going to Boston. Well, one of the reasons why I'm going to Boston. So I bought my Larry Bird jersey to wear like on my birthday. And so I told this friend, I was like, hey, I just got my Larry Bird jersey, so everything's fine. And she's like, wait, and I'm like, wait, that's a jersey we
Think
can
about
buy because it's not baseball. And so I'm like, I'm just confusing her so much. But I'm like, it's gonna make sense when we're there. Just let's just
right,
get there.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of that, like, how do you feel about like going? So I don't like this. If I don't have a team there, or I don't like to see people where you come with a jersey of a team that's not even there, like not the
That
home.
bothers me. I don't like when people do that.
Yeah, I'm like, neither of those teams are here. Like, it's me
I
going,
don't get it.
yeah, wearing a Saints jersey, and I'm going to a Rams and a Raiders game or something like that.
Yeah.
Like Saints aren't there. Like, just because that's my team. So like the Yankees, I wore a Brooklyn because I still want to wear like sports stuff when I
Right.
go to the games, but I'm not a Yankees fan, and I'm not a White Sox fan. That's who they played. But I wore a Brooklyn Negro League jersey.
Mhm.
So I have a Negro
Oh,
League jersey, and it's Brooklyn back when they had a Negro League team. So
yeah.
I still like represented New York area and wore
Right.
that. Um, so I think that's fine. Or if I didn't have something, I would have just worn like a baseball t-shirt, like something that, is
I
baseball-y.
like just wear a color. Like for like
Yeah,
next week, I'm like, I'm not, again, I don't buy jerseys unless it's the Astros. And even then I'm like, I have Craig Biggio's jersey. That's the only thing I will ever need. And so but like next week, I'm like, oh, I'll just like wear colors for the home team, because
hmm,
that's what I'll do. Like even when we went to Colorado Rockies last year, I was like, I don't know anybody on the Rockies. I'm gonna be very honest, but like I had
right.
purple shorts and like a little black tee, and I was like, I'm in their colors. So yeah, no, I always think it's really
Right.
weird, and I don't like. Maybe we need to ask a guy like why they do that. But I'm
Yeah.
like those like one time I went somewhere and like they did have like a Cardinals, and it's not even like it was like a Cardinals fan who got traded to like play for. No, it was just a
Right.
regular jersey, and I was like,
Wow.
why is this here? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then like I don't know if it's the fashion in me. Like that doesn't even make sense to be. worn
Because
today.
you're dressing
Like,
according to your event.
yes, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, but
Well,
that's,
I'm glad that you feel the same way, because yeah, that's one of my things where I'm like, no, you shouldn't
it
do
doesn't
that.
even go here. I'm like,
Just
that's
never make- like this doesn't even make sense.
yeah.
Um, but no, yeah, so that's good. Baseball this summer, and these games have been great. I think this season, again, Aaron Judge was out, so I didn't get to see any like history made there or anything, or home runs or
Well, technically, you
anything
saw
like that.
history with
But
the with the smoke. So,
oh yeah, I did. Yeah, we did
British smoke.
witness that New York history, because it was bad, and you can smell it. That next day was our last day there, and it was like you couldn't even see any views or anything. So it reminded me of back home, being from California when they have the wildfires, you can
Mhm.
see, and that's how it was. But just to think that it was coming from Canada, like
Yeah.
not even within the same state. So hopefully that died down, and hopefully the fire stopped within Canada. I'm not even sure if it had.
Yeah, I
Uh,
feel like there hasn't been a lot of reporting on that.
yeah, yeah, not after since it took over New York, and then,
Yeah,
but you're watching the US Opens and
I am.
we were talking about that, and there has been a lot going on. And that was one thing that we did text during the honeymoon time, because news broke that what we've been talking about for the last couple of months prior to our break was LIV, Live Golf, and the PGA
Yeah.
going at it. They were in court, but now
So I was telling Erin that, so this is what I texted her while she was on her honeymoon in the middle of a training at work. And I was telling Erin that the training was literally like she had just talked to us about how our phones are like distractions and things like that. And I was like, yeah, I know. It, and then literally like 5 minutes later, I get an ESPN alert and I just like check it just to basically,
plan.
confirm that my phone is a distraction. And it said PGA and Live Golf are joining forces. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I was like, sorry to the lady speaking right now, but I have to check this. And it's just been a mess. And so for those of you, if this is like the first one you're listening to, I've recently gotten into golf within the last year and a half, and that's when all of this was starting. So I kind of like got in on it like right in the beginning, and how it was always like prefaced with the PGA. They were very like LIV is or Live is backed by the Saudi Arabians. So there's like a bunch of money there. People are getting millions of dollars to play for Live. And a lot of people saw it as being sold out. And the way that the marketing technique that PGA went with was that it was Saudi Arabia backed and support.
So that
And
golfers don't go there too.
yes. So
Yeah.
basically they were like, if you agree with like if fine, like if you do this, you're siding with 9/11. You're like it got very like political and like just very like morals wise. So um that like and again there's just been battles of like basically they took people from PGA. They were trying to recruit Tiger Woods. They were trying to recruit Charlie Woods, who's Tiger's son. And some of them went like Brooks Koepka went. Phil Mickelson was like the big guy behind it. So they had some really big names. And anyone who watches Netflix could watch Full Swing. They kind of talk about it on there a little bit to kind of give you a good idea of just kind of how LIV players were painted in relation to PGA players. One that comes to mind is strictly Rory McIlroy, who was kind of placed as the poster child for PGA, and he would always just say in interviews like he was standing by this organization. This is the association that has all the history. This is what he was going to do. And then news broke out that they were merging. And it also broke out that every single player found out with everyone at the same time, which of course was Twitter. And everyone was like, "Oh, I can't remember who it was." He was like, "Oh, I'd love to see that the league that I play for is joining forces with the team, like the league that they said they would never
Right.
play for. Like
And
just
then no
kind of
internal communications first.
yes.
Go ahead.
And it's kind of been I've been listening to a lot of podcasts or articles about it, and it's kind of shitty if we're going to
Yeah.
be very frank. They um because again they spun it to be about a moral thing, and when really it all came down to money. And now there's a federal investigation into it to see what went into it, because it's supposed to be like voted on. I think like the fact that it was such a big decision that and no one knew was coming. I think there's like some ethics kind of.
And weren't they still in court?
Yes. So like we
Yeah,
don't
that
know. I
wasn't,
haven't heard anything that happens to like the ongoing stuff, because I think there was some
yeah,
stuff that wasn't supposed to be talked about until 2024. So I don't know if like that was their way to like beat those things. But
yeah,
well, then it's also like I feel really bad for one, all the players who turned down that money are now like possibly missing out on big paydays because they didn't join. And then I was talking about with my golf instructor, he brought it up that a lot of the players said no because of morals. Like they knew where that money came from, and they were like,
yeah.
I just really don't feel comfortable like having that
And so
money.
now you're
Like,
working for a company
and
that
now
doesn't
they
align
are,
with
and they didn't have
morals.
any
Yeah,
say so whatsoever. So now it's like, so basically, I think his name's Manfred. Like everyone's really upset with him, and everyone like really like again, Rory McIlroy was like a scapegoat, and then all of a sudden he is like, I I feel like they just kind of used him for sacrifice, and then they really screw him over in the end to be like, oh, thanks for sticking up for us, but like we're just gonna join forces anyway,
right.
and not even tell anyone.
Well,
And
and
so, and I
I
do
think
know
it's,
that Full Swing is filming season 2, and they
oh,
tweeted, they're like, yeah, we were rolling when they
so
found
this
that,
will
like
be
when
in
everyone
there.
found out. So I can't wait for that footage to come out,
Yeah,
because
that
it's
actual
just been
event.
like messy. And I think it's really because again, for the longest time, like for years, like people like for a year, people who are choosing PGA were standing by of like not taking Saudi Arabian money and like being the better person and like I guess Americans' eyes. And then it
Mhm.
was like, oh, so this whole time it was really just they just didn't give you the dollar that you wanted, like the dollar sign that you wanted. And
And
now
now
that they
you're,
have it, you just throw away. And like they even talked about how even I really think it's Manfred. I could be wrong. I should have looked it up before. Like every time he would talk about LIV or Live would be like Saudi Arabian backed, like Saudi Arabian supported. Like he would always throw that in there. And then when he released his statement about joining forces, like there was no mention of it
yeah,
whatsoever. So
so
it's
they're
just
not
kind of
gonna,
really sleazy, a bunch of just old white men doing crappy.
well,
Like basically, again, people who said no because of morals, it just went to nothing because they gave them the right dollar.
and I think it's funny that because, okay, so before live golfers couldn't participate in tournaments put on by the PGA, but then
Right.
they,
And then they allowed them like a couple of months ago to where they were able to play in the Masters.
in a live golfer won.
No,
And
not the Masters. I think Rom, no, but Brooks won
oh,
something. And I can't remember what Brooks won. Did he win the
one
one?
of their live golfers won
What did he
one of
won?
their tournaments, right?
Yes, because it was Brooks. And I can't remember because all I know is because I was in Amsterdam for the Masters and I was looking up, I was keeping up to make sure that he did not win the Masters because he was leading it the whole time. And then he ended up not, he finished second or third. But he did win. He's having a really hard time right now
Mm.
with the US Open. So background for the US Open for everyone. They are playing at the Country Club of Los Angeles, and it's the first Open in there, if not ever. It's been a very long time since they played the course because it would be very private, and it's also just a very tough course. Like people are having a very difficult time. I was telling Aaron beforehand, like Ricky Fowler was leading the course. There's 4 rounds, started Thursday. And then there were cuts on Friday, and Phil Mickelson, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, like a lot of really good ones did not make the cut. And then Ricky Fowler was going in today, I think 11 under or 12 under par. And now he is like 8 under because it's just like a difficult, I just like watched Clark, I don't know his first name, like it's really like not good terrain, and it's hilly, and like there's a lot, it's not as polished as all the other ones, so a lot of people have been like very vocal about how they don't like it. Like again, Brooks Koepka was like, I mean, it would be cool for like a round, not like a major one. But
This is outside of the topic, but every time you say Ricky Fowler, I think of Ricky Bobby from
I think of that too. And he like dresses like pretty wild, like
really.
wild, but like when he was younger, like he kind of had like hair that flipped out. And
I just keep thinking about
I
television.
think he won the oh, that's what it was. Brooks won the PGA championship because it was like
Okay.
a live golfer won PGA. I remember that's what it was, because I was like,
Yeah, and then that wasn't too far before
mm-mm.
in this merger all of a sudden. And like you said, now there's no mention of Saudi Arabia. So like, did you find out that they weren't back, but you didn't let us know, or what? Are
Yeah.
you, like you said, the money, so it
It's
doesn't matter
really, it's just
anymore.
kind of shitty. I know I shouldn't say that word, but it is, because I do feel like, because for the longest time they just kind of treated it like this needs to go away. We're not going to let them win. We're not, and they're like, oh, well, we're just going to like get their money and
Yeah.
forget everything that we said for the last year. And it's
Yeah.
like,
You're sleeping with the enemy now. Like,
yes. And
or
then,
you're,
I mean, again, like, I really feel like the ones who did say no for morals, like they're screwed now, because they're like,
yeah.
this is the only way I can get money. And
Because if I was sticking to you because you fit my morals and stuff, but now we're joining forces with them. And so, and I don't think live in that merger, they were saying we're going to be kind of 50-50 on things, but they did have a seat at the table of running things. So,
yeah, I think he's
like
like
you
on the
said,
board.
like as a
He like
golfer,
gets to sit at the
now,
table. Yeah.
yeah. So now you're under this group that you don't believe in,
Yeah.
So it's like, do I quit and lose my dream because, give up on, what I'm trying to do? So yeah, that's going to be interesting to keep watching and to hear more about that. And it was just funny that that happened in the middle of your training, and I'm in New York, and it was like that news. It was like, oh
And
my
I
God.
couldn't, you were the only person I could tell, because I was like, oh my God. I was like,
Yeah, and I'm like,
you're your honeymoon. And like, we can't really talk about it because I don't want to take you away from Marcus, but like, oh my God.
yeah, and you're like, I'm in a training, but
And, and I was like, I'm so, it was just awful, because it was the time she had literally just been like, cell phones are a distraction. And I'm like, mm-hmm. And then
yes,
like, yep, sorry,
major things
pause
happen,
this. I'm sorry. This is very
major
important
things happen in
information.
sports,
If
right?
you only knew, ma'am, if you only knew.
Right.
But it's
Um,
been wild. This
yeah,
is the time to like, again, I have drank the Kool-Aid with golf. But I think it's like, so there's like such a, like the fact that it's happening, it's not even like the off season that all this is happening. It's like if the
wow.
NFL, like, yeah, like it's, there's
There's,
still things going on right now, and just, yeah, it's,
and what I think is being exciting about golf, like I'm not sitting there watching it, but I don't do that with baseball either unless I'm there.
right.
Uh, but what is interesting and what I love about this season, which seems to be like across the board in sports, is like the underdogs winning tournaments and things, and they're being coming to the spotlight versus those
Mhm.
major players that we've seen, or you hear about all the time. But like I don't know if it was the championship or the Masters where that other guy
It
that
was a championship, because we were so
well,
glad that they were talking about him and not
yeah,
Brooks.
they weren't talking,
I
but
was like, I'm
he
so glad this is happening at this one, because
yes, he never gave up. He has a good story. I can't remember his name.
he was
But the,
Michael something, and yeah, he's just like an instructor.
yeah, and
He
he
played. So my instructor explained to me this, because I was like, Kevin, could
mhm,
you just like all of a sudden do that? And he was like, yeah, like they have like other leagues, like separate
mhm,
like things, and the spot to win, like something, if you win, you get a place to like go play at the Open or play at
yeah,
like opening round the Masters. And so like no one ever, and again, they're like very small leagues, so
mhm,
they don't really anticipate, I wouldn't say like they write them off, but it's kind of like, okay, well, you're in this really small league, but yeah, tomorrow you get to go play with Phil Mickelson, have fun. And so when they do get to come up and have really good stories, because like I think you said you knew this, the Uber driver is playing in
Yeah.
the US Open right now. And I'm like,
Yeah,
so
he does Uber, and he's like he has high ratings on Uber, but in between drives and how he just works out his schedule, like he's on that golf course
mhm.
practicing and doing what he needs to do. And I think he's tried several times that they were saying that he failed, but he never gave up and he
Yeah.
still worked at it. And now he, um, was able to make the cut for
Yeah.
this tournament. So I love those kind of stories. And I think we're seeing
Golf
that a
has a
lot
lot of
in
them. I think
sports,
because they
but
open like things to that, like, because again, like baseball has minor league and whatever, but
yeah,
I think it's the only golf is the only one that allows, just someone who, again, his name, I can't remember his name, is Michael like B something, but he like went from just giving lessons for like $120 an hour to like being, I think he finished second. Like, I think like he
look at
was
the final
very,
where I thought he had won.
yes.
And then
That's what
you're
you were
like,
like, oh, well, this one. I'm like, no, actually, this is
oh,
hilarious because I don't like Brooks. And I know I probably don't like Brooks because of how he was painted in Full Swing.
yeah.
And I do think he's gotten a little better. I do think that, like, I think he probably saw how he was painted in Full Swing and probably has had to do some extra, like, work on being like, hey,
Mhm.
that's not really me. Um,
Right.
but yeah, when he won the PGA one, I was like, I really just love that no one really knows if he won because everyone kept talking about the other guy.
Right.
And you even
Right.
said, they're like, didn't the instructor guy win? And I was like, no, but I love that you think that.
He got the pub, right, right, which is good
Yes.
because I like those
Yeah.
stories. But no, it'll be interesting to see that, and I hope we do get to see more golfers come. And it just shows you to never give up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they could have just gave up and like, okay, I'm just gonna stay an instructor or whatever. I'm gonna stay an Uber driver and doing it on the end, but they kept
There's
putting
always
themselves
stuff to do, I'm learning with golf. Like even my instructor, he turns 50 this year and he's like in a regular league, but then he's like, oh, when I turn 50, I'll be eligible. Like I could also join, I could stay in my actual league, but I could also join a senior league. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, so like there's always just like little things that
Yeah,
that
but I
I'm
mean,
learning. And
putting
then I'm like, oh, this really is like a kind of a lifetime sport that is
right.
very intriguing.
But putting yourself in those situations to where you could have that opportunity. But yeah, I can see golf doing that and keeping you young because if you're walking,
Yeah.
like we all know that walking is good for your health. So
Yes.
you're walking the
Yeah, that's the
course
thing.
and
Like you have to walk
yeah,
the majors.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
good. Um, but we kind of touched on, I don't know if we kind of touched on, but NBA. I want to talk about that.
Yes.
That just ended. Draft is coming up this month, I think the end of this week, maybe Thursday. Um, but we have a new champion. The NBA finals ended last week. It feels like so much longer than that, but
That's
we're
feel
only
like a very long
halfway.
time ago.
Yeah. But they ended and the Denver Nuggets won their first championship ever in franchise history. So that's good. They beat the Lakers, blew them out, and then they beat Miami in the finals 3-1. Yeah. So Miami got one game on them, but again, the Denver Nuggets, they deserved it. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, if we're saying his name right. That one's kind
Right.
of tough, but um they got that brought that championship to the city. And so happy for them. It does kind of suck because I did want Jimmy Butler to win just because he has kind of been going, he's kind of like my Chris Paul. Like I really want them to win. I feel like they should join teams so that they could just win at the same time. So we can be
Right.
happy if they're on
Well, I
opposite.
think, yeah,
But
I so that was a weird series for me to watch because I like Jimmy too, but then I'd also known that like Josic or Jocket, what, yeah, see, we don't know. I
okay,
just know that they
yeah.
call him the Joker, so I've been calling him the Joker.
Um,
But they were talking about how, sorry, there was a putt and I thought it was gonna turn. That like he's been like MVP before, but like Denver kind of had been like an underrated, like under the radar kind of team, and this was like the finals that it was kind of like I feel like, and again, I don't follow NBA like I do NFL, but I keep up with like my teams. I kind of keep
Mhm.
up with the ones that I like the Celtics, I like the Mavs, like the Pelicans, like there's some, but even I was like aware that like Denver was doing really well
Mhm.
because I think, I mean, I don't know if we know, if you know, but I guess like he just didn't have weapons. And I don't know if this year they finally
Yeah.
got weapons or if
Well,
they
and I
had been
think
a
Jamal
team.
was out last year.
That's probably what it
He got
was.
injured, and so I don't think he got to play the full year,
Mhm.
but he had an injury, so it was kind of something for him too coming back. But yeah, I think
And I know that they've been arguing because, and again, we've kind of highlighted this in other episodes, but their coaches had been employed for a very long time but they had never like won anything. And
Mhm.
normally, like you hear, oh, well, you didn't give me a championship, so you're fired.
Yeah,
Oh, well, you didn't do this because you're fired. And it's like, look what happens when you really stick with them and they have time to build
yeah,
something that can stay. Because like already Denver Nuggets are expected to win next year just because I don't think they're losing people. Like, I think it
yeah.
finally had them. And again, you're a Lakers girl, I'm a Mavs girl, that I'm like, I don't want y'all to. But
Right,
it kind of, the argument was like, look what happens when you just invest in your coaches and don't just be like, well, that was 3 years and you've done nothing. Bye.
right.
Like,
Because
if
it
you
takes
just kind of
time.
have patience to let them build something, because if you don't give them time to build it, then, because
Yep.
I think like that's where you think the ones who like join the like super teams, it's like, no, I think that that's less of a Cinderella story than the ones that are like, no, we've been working at this as
See,
a team for years and we finally
right.
got there. Like,
See,
that's
and
where
I
I'm like,
think,
take my money, this is what
yeah,
I
I
want.
think the same thing. I was listening to um uh all this all the smoke, yeah. With Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. But they had Lil Wayne on, who is a big sports fan and stuff. And so they were like asking him to name his top three players of all time in the NBA. And so he said LeBron, MJ, and then Kobe. Or no, he asked him to rank those three. Um, and he said LeBron, MJ, and Kobe. And so he said LeBron because LeBron has won a championship, won his longevity in his career, and he's still going. But he has won a championship in with three different teams. And so I was like, but I don't think that's good. Like Kobe staying with the same team and winning it, Michael Jordan staying with the same team and winning it. Like those are things that I think are better because when there was downs and ups and changes of coaches, like you were able to get that team together.
Yeah.
But then LeBron just went and found,
The
in my
super,
mind,
yeah.
yeah, he was like, well, let me get put with, and so Marcus was saying, well, he obviously added something because those teams weren't winning before, but okay, right, but he still found those superstars.
I want to, yes, because I went on a date this weekend and um it was like kind of like the argument about, because I put on my profile, I want to debate the Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady because I just want to see what people say. And you can tell a
I
lot about a
love
person
that.
with what they say.
I love that.
And like, this guy and like he kind of like brought it up and he was like, so like, what's your debate? And I was like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Tom's not a good player. Like, that would be ignorant of me and probably have said this,
Right.
but like Tom had weapons his entire career. Like, when he went to Tampa, he just called a bunch of people and like created this team.
And then you had Belichick and all those good, like,
Yes. And like
that's a,
Belichick is like the defense guy. Like,
yeah,
so I always was like, and again, I'm not taking anything away from Tom, but Tom always had
right.
really good weapons. Whereas I feel like Peyton had like young teams or like had to like go through some adversity of like, Peyton also took 4 different coaches to a Super Bowl. Like, even though like I guess like you can say what
That's
you
a
want to
lot
say
to
about how like
style.
no one really coaches when Peyton's in the room, and I'm like, no, that's 4 different people that you have to get to be on your side to say, hey, this is how we're gonna do. Because if they don't get along, you don't make it. I don't care what
Right.
you say. So like to come kind of like say, yeah, like LeBron just brought like I get what Marcus is saying, like, oh, like they
Yeah.
didn't have it. And it's like, no, but you didn't really grow. You just
That's how
found a
I feel.
puzzle piece and
Yeah.
was like, cool. And it wasn't like that. Cause I mean,
You
like,
didn't help
look
mold
at
it
like what
per
happened with
se.
Russell Westbrook. Like even because it doesn't just mean throwing super teams are gonna mesh. Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like
You do have to have, so, okay, I'll give that to LeBron, that he is able to fit into every team. So that I
yeah.
think his leadership and his sportsmanship
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
great. And again, he is a great player. I think he is great on the field, on the court and off the court. I don't like him on the court because, again, I don't like that he moved. I really was rooting for him when he first came in the league and he was with Cleveland to win something at Cleveland.
I couldn't
I was a
remember. Somebody's talked about this recently. I was watching Sports Center, I think this week,
Mhm.
yesterday or something, and someone
Was
talked
it
about
Skip?
that it was like if he just wouldn't have left. Like I think
Yeah, I think that would have probably sold me more on LeBron, to where I would like him on the court and have probably been more excited about him coming to the Lakers. But um yeah, him just moving around, I feel like if you stay with the team and you build something and you guys have your downs and, able to bring them back, I think that makes you a better player in my mind. But yeah, that's my thing.
yeah, I think that
um
sorry, I'm also dog sitting. So if y'all heard
no.
a squeaking, that was that. No, because I think that yeah, so that's why I thought like watching Denver was really cool because I
Mhm.
think that they just had to, I don't know, like a good underdog, but
And it
even
wasn't all superstars on there, like
yeah,
really no
like
big
that's what,
superstars out of.
and then yeah, I kind of and then Josek's been so funny to watch because
Oh my
he
God, yes.
is so like so he's from Serbia and he's really made it known that like basically like basketball is just his job. Like
Right.
basketball is just his, oh, well, I'm done, so I'm gonna go home now kind
He's
of
very
situation.
humble. Yeah.
This is my dog. She's,
Oh,
so if y'all hear her,
I
sorry.
want to be in.
She's
Let's do the combo.
so please don't, sorry, she's playing with the screen. Sorry. This is what happens when I don't have headphones. Um, but then so so I think we've discovered that he does racehorses. Is
Yes,
that
and
what he
he
does?
has a horse, I believe, in Serbia.
So for those of you who didn't watch, he was in his press conference and they're like, "Are you so excited about the parade?" And he's like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, you get a parade because you win." And he's like, and he looks over and he's like, "When is the parade?" And they're like, "Thursday." He's like, "Oh no, I
I
have
got
to
to
go
go.
home." Like I have to go home. And then like that was Tuesday night and then Thursday was the parade and he was so happy to be at the parade. He was like, "I love the parade." Like
But it was funny because people were like, how normal is he? He was like in the corner with like his Bud Light or whatever beer they were drinking, just, like in the corner, like that coworker that's
like he was just like
hey.
the one like and they everyone was just like going crazy. And I think they said, did you see the one where he didn't know what to do with the champagne? Because like yeah, you pop it and you do like this
Right,
and
or
he was just
something.
like he like opened it and then he was just like
I
it was
love it.
so like
But
you could
his
just tell that
story,
he's just like
he's
okay.
yeah. He was like, I gotta go back. And then he was talking on one of the it was on the court or whatever, and he was like, maybe he'll let me use his plane, like they'll get me a plane and let me leave right after, whatever, because I think like the race or the season or whatever he needed to get back home to Serbia for
Yeah.
started like that Friday or something. So like the time, travel and stuff, he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And they're like, you just won a championship. You can have anything you want. I'm sure they will give
I
you a
think we'll
plane,
make it happen.
get you home. And he's just like, oh yeah, maybe so. But I'm just like, he's just so humble about it, and I love it. But his story too is pretty good, like his upbringing and him just working hard. And he as well has been with his girlfriend since high school, I think. Since they were very, or not his girlfriend, his wife,
I was like,
from
are they
very
married?
young.
Nothing
Yeah,
against it. I just thought that yeah.
no, yeah, they were, or they are, but like they have been together. But yeah, he's been funny to watch because he's just, even throughout the playoffs, he was like, they would say, "Are you excited?" And he's just like, "We have another game, like, like, gotta get to it." Like, I'm not going to do anything or talk about it being exciting
Yes.
quite yet. So again, happy for them. And we saw Sean Payton, we'll get to this in our football section, but Sean Payton and Russell Westbrook, Russell Wilson, sorry. Russell Wilson's the quarterback for Denver, and Sean Payton, who was the coach for the Saints, retired and then just became the coach for the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
They were both at the Denver game and they kind of showed them. And so it's like, that was the night that they won. And so then it's like, okay, pressure. Now they're going to be looking at y'all to bring something to this city this year. And I'm like, no, we don't need that. Like, y'all ain't winning. But, that pressure is on for them because, they're in that high of just winning. And so, and they're used to winning with
right now. I know we mentioned, but like something is happening with Rory McIlroy's ball, and I've never seen this happen. Oh, it must have I think it's in the bunker, like in the it's unplayable. Sorry. So there's just been this whole thing, and I think you have to ask permission of where you can move it and all this
to get it out exactly.
Yes, it's been a whole thing, and I'm and of course he's in second, so I'm oh, I hope this doesn't hurt his chance. Yeah, sorry, because he hasn't gotten a major in a while. So
yeah,
everyone, that's a cool thing about golf. Not to go back to it, but everyone has a storyline in some capacity that
that plays into
that
it.
that there's a reason to kind of cheer for everyone. So
yeah, unless you're just evil, there's some you don't cheer for. But okay, so sticking on to NBA, because I want to bring up these two things and get two players situations.
yes, because it's been exciting
in the last couple of weeks, months and weeks. What your thoughts are, and then if anyone else has thoughts on that, please share within our comments and everything. But so on the Pelicans, Zion Williamson, who was drafted number 1 when he was drafted a couple years ago by the Pelicans. He came from Duke, so he's one of my favorite players because of Duke. I love all players coming from there. But he was really good on the court. We got to see him a couple of times this past season before he got injured in February, and he was out the rest of the season. So a little backstory, he got cleared to come back when the Pelicans were in the play-in area games to go into the playoffs. And they really did need him to be on the court. And he could have come back to play, but he felt he wasn't ready. And he had said, and that was a whole thing amongst talks here in Louisiana, is he should be ready to come back. Like, he gets paid all of these dollars, he's the star of the team. He should be coming back, and you can't be nervous. But he was saying he was nervous to come back because it's the second time he's hurt himself and all of that. And so some people are like, he wasn't in shape anyway. Like, he should have been working out off season to get himself into shape. And he is a little bit heavier in his position in the professional league versus when he was in college. A lot of guys have to drop when they come into the, NBA. And I was kind of on his side, if he says he's nervous, mental health kind of thing, he shouldn't go out there because he's going to hurt our team a lot worse. Well, last week or the week before, I think it was last week, story comes out, he, which this was dumb too, for him to be posting like this or allowing the girl, he announced they had a baby reveal. So he is having a baby. So he got a young lady pregnant. I don't know if that's his girlfriend or if they're just dating still. So he's having a baby, he reveals this. And so everyone's kind of like, okay. And then come to, of course, when you come out with your significant other and you're dating a celebrity, your information comes out. So I think she might have been a former porn star, or she's something that I guess society wouldn't think is right to be. And she's Instagram, influencer kind of deal, Instagram person. So they announced that she did a whole like video of their reveal and stuff. Well, now this other lady comes through on Twitter and's going back at it and saying, she was dating him at the same time, and he was flying her to games and buying her stuff and putting out receipts and stuff. And she is a former porn star. Now that one is a former porn star, because I think she said in one of her things, like, I'm a former porn star, but I don't do that anymore or something. But now you have this drama, and now the question is, okay, obviously you were a little bit busy doing some other stuff instead of working out. And so fans here are upset for that reason, which I'm upset for too. So I just want to know your thoughts on that when it comes to, as a fan of basketball, and if your favorite player did this to your team.
I know, I'm like, if Luka did this, I'd be so mad.
Right.
I think, and we've mentioned, I'm not a big diehard New Orleans fan of sports. I'm really like, again, I told Aaron earlier, like, I bought my AD jersey and I was so set on the Pelicans, and then we got rid of them, and it was like, I'm never buying a basketball jersey ever again. And like, I wanted to get behind the team, and we just haven't had it. And I do feel like Zion was kind of a turning point for Pelicans, and he was always very like adamant about, I'm going to stay here. A lot of people thought that like he was going to leave because of the injuries and things like that. But he was very like, no, I love it in New Orleans. I'm going to stay here. So the city as a whole like rallied behind him. So then, like, not to sound like Stephen A. Smith, but it's kind of like, this is what you've been doing. Like,
Right.
this is what you've been doing while we've been like backing you up and doing all the things of like, oh no, like, he's not ready, guys. Like, he's not ready. Sorry, can you hear that?
No, she's not allowed.
Okay, sorry.
We're not on my
but just say, I was like, there it is. So we, like, I feel like because he felt like he was going to stay with New Orleans really backed him up and was like, he's like, just like you said, like, no, he needs to be prepared. Like, he is larger for his size. Like, he needs to be comfortable because he is like the like big player for us. And then to be doing that and then just being like, okay. And like, not just like one woman, but like two.
Yeah, like
you're
having a messy argument out in public.
Yes. And so, and again, like, I feel like there's just like this weird, like, again, I've never personally had any relations with professional athletes, but like, I've heard that like, this is why there are NDAs. This is why there are things to be like,
right.
Look, this is your job now. This is your profession. This is how you're going to make the bills, and this is how you're going to do things. Like, you're not in college anymore. Like, this is the big leagues, and you need to take care of your shit in a way that doesn't come back to get you. And it's one thing to be like, okay, like, you're having a baby, great. But then it's like, oh, and you're also like, now we know what you've been doing.
Right.
And because you didn't take care of your stuff to be like, hey, sign this paper, just because, like, I don't know. And maybe it's just because, like, as a woman, like, we've just been taught to like always take care of the like skeletons in the closet, and like just kind of, again, make sure things don't get out. Where like a part of me is like, y'all are stupid. Like, how have you not been like, I would tell, if I became a professional anything tomorrow, I would probably go like reach out to anyone I just like went on a date with, just be like, hey,
everything
NDA, this is what you're gonna do. We never.
Well, I mean, he's a brand, and I think that comes with
brand. That's the best word to put it.
Yeah, obviously, as you're younger and you get all this money, and just, he lives in a city where one, doesn't even matter where he lives. Like, you have women coming at you now with social media. You can connect.
Well, like, that's the thing where like there are receipts now. Like, you didn't think to be like, hey, let's like take care of that. Like, yeah. And I think like that's what it is. Like, you didn't think. You didn't think. And then now we're like, I just feel like New Orleans deserves better, because like I do feel like we deserve a franchise person who can just like take our team and like be a leader of our team. And I feel like that's what this is, where I'm like, you aren't the leader. Like, this is not leader.
No. Well,
So
you
not
know
to bring
the
back, like, I hate talking about this person, but like we kind of talk about like Baker Mayfield and how like Baker was very like, oh, like cocky or whatever. And it's like, bro, you haven't done
yeah,
anything yet. And like a
right,
part of me is like, Zion, you have not done anything yet to be able to like get away with shit like
right.
this. Like,
But
you
I
don't
think his
have,
is just him not thinking in that sense at all, or not having the right people around to like
yes.
this
Like
is
I
your money. Like you need to work out, you need to be around the right
Well, it's
people.
almost like you took it for granted that you had
Yeah,
it. Like, you know what I mean?
right.
Like, hey, they're paying you a lot of money to be
And it's
on
not the
this
same
team.
like
Maybe you
Duke
should like
though.
be in a rush to get back to this team.
Right. Like it's not like Duke, like you have 3 years, you're out, 4 years, you're out, or whatever, 5 years if you redshirt. You're going like now this is your money and your career. You could be cut and then what? You know what I mean? You don't have a college degree. Not that you need a college degree, but you didn't graduate. Like this is what was going to take you, and you should be going far with it because you were number one and you are a good player. When he played, it was great the way he moved on the court, even with his size. And it was just like if you did the right things that it takes to be in the NBA, like as far as the
Right.
physical, which if you have the right people around you or preparing your body for that. I mean, and we see athletes all the time talk about it. I mean, Kobe, Tom Brady, all of these athletes that talk about their physique. LeBron James, the reason why he is playing for 20 plus years, still playing and it still doing
You
great
take care of your body.
because of taking care of your body and doing what you're supposed to do off season. And so, and for me, it's not even like it's disappointing for me the type of women that he got, as far as that they're willing to argue on social media about the thing. And I know he hurt the one girl, obviously, because she may have thought one thing and he was obviously doing something else with someone else. But to do that, like, out in the open. But the other thing is you could have your fun and still work. So you could have still been
That's what I
doing
think.
it
Yeah.
with them and then go do your stuff on the side. There's plenty of guys that were great on the court and did what they needed to do, but still had whatever their fun was. And then, like you said, it just hurt the city and the fans. This city is already not a basketball city, and they were getting excited. The arena was packed almost every game for the Pelicans. And you could just see that it was becoming something that the city loved, was basketball and getting behind it. Outside of football, this was something that they enjoyed. But when you're gonna lose like that, that's not gonna keep them. And like you said, they need that franchise. Leader wise, I think CJ McComb is a great leader, but he is not that superstar coming in that Zion was. You know what I mean? And what he was supposed to be for um the city. But I think this season those other guys got to step up on the Pelicans that did some great stuff. But again, we could have gone further if LeBron, if Zion had played and got back out. And now we can't trust. It's like losing that trust. I don't know if I can believe that it was mentally you were just scared to go out there.
Yeah. Like
Or
now we're not going to believe anything you say.
yeah,
So
I
to
don't
be
know
like,
because you have all this mess that's coming out and you should have kept that between you and those the parties, involved. Um, but another guy, quickly, before we jump into closing out in our NFL, John Morant. So for those that haven't seen, this news just came out this week, but way back, I think over a month ago, he was caught with again flashing a gun on his social media. He was in a strip club. It's not illegal for the state he was in, so he didn't break any laws, but he broke the organization rules or the NBA rules, and he had already gotten in trouble about having a gun and flashing it, and was suspended for some games this season. And so it was like and he said he had learned from it and he was going to do better, and then this happened. And so they were trying to decide what was going to happen, and it just came out this week, I guess. Yeah, this week. Um, that he's going to be suspended for 25 games going into the next season, which is, a lot. But, and some people are saying that's too severe, or that the NBA is just creating these rules out of nowhere because there's nothing written, because nothing like this has ever happened. And they've given out other punishments for other things that have been done. And he technically didn't break the law, but he did break this code that he had agreed to with his employer over the last incident. It's the second time. And like we were saying, it's almost like a child. Like, I feel like he needs this 25 game suspension to maybe, like, okay, this is 25 now. That's a good chunk. Could it be more if you keep doing it or get it together? So
I think again, not to do the child thing, but it's like, we just had this conversation.
right.
And then I'm like one of the rule followers where it's like, maybe we, like, if you're gonna do it, again, I'm a typical younger child, like, I'm all about testing, like, okay, well, like, when can I get away with this kind of situation? And because again, I'm not even gonna like judge anyone's morals or like what they're doing, but it's kind of like, okay, well, like, they told me I couldn't do this, so I will like just wait a couple of months. Like, I think that the fact that it was like so soon after, and I think we kind of talked about this, that like the NBA is still happening. Like, people are still, just because your season's off doesn't mean people are done talking about the NBA. People are going to be paying attention to you because it's still like forefront of mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I
It's
can't
in the
tell
same
you
season.
anything about any NFL player right now because they're just not like being reported on in a way.
Right.
Like, we saw Russell because he was at a NBA thing. Like, we've
Right.
seen people and those, like, but again, I can't tell you anything besides, and we'll talk about it later, like Patrick Mahomes was at they got their rings this week. Like, the news cycle where it's like, bro, you didn't even like give it time to like not be in season to do this. So
Right.
I think like that's where the whole, this is your employer's rule and you
Yeah.
went against it, and like you're still in season. Like, just because you're off doesn't mean the season's off. That I
Yeah, the
think that,
spotlight's still on the sport.
yeah. And I get like when people are like, oh, well, like this has never happened before. And it's like, well, maybe they need to do rules right now because obviously this may be unprecedented now, but like,
And it's
if
also
we
a
don't do
different
something now,
time.
everyone's going to do this.
And it's
And
also a different time with this generation with social media. So of course it's going to change. A lot of the incidents they were talking about, I think, were a lot older, where we didn't have the social media and it was the different era of guys. So yeah, like you said, it's new. We have to
yes. And I
adjust.
think like
Like in
that's
every
where,
company.
because we kind of talk about this is a silly conversation segue, but like we kind of talk about, there was an interview with the Backstreet Boys, and they were like, we did some stupid stuff on the road in hotel
Yeah.
rooms, and like, but because there was no social media, like that was never getting out, and they're
Yeah.
like, we would never like,
I
so
just look at my life. Imagine what if I was in
yeah.
when I was in high school, if there was social media.
I think
I mean,
what
I
like,
didn't get
because I
wild, but
had,
still.
I was like a MySpacer, like I was. And like, but even then, like if things got out, it was because someone had to take home their digital camera and upload. Like, it's, you had to put work. You wanted that out there, you
It
know?
wasn't just
Like,
in.
yeah. Yeah. Like either of like, oh, let me just go live now. So I think like, and I don't want to sound like this like white girl trying to tell a white man how to live, but I think it's for his best because it's like, again, you are on this, you are a brand. And I know
Yeah,
that
it
like,
goes back to that. Yeah.
you play for this team, and like, just like when we, I mean, again, I assume this is the conversation because if I got it like at age 12 playing AYBA basketball or something, like, you are on a team, you represent this team
Yep.
wherever you go, and that's what I think is like,
Yeah.
I think they have every right to come down on him because he's representing them. And I think
Right.
like we will stay away from it, but like especially with like gun violence going on right now, like we don't need to see anyone who is of respect with like just acting
Mhm.
aimlessly with a gun. And I think that,
Yeah.
I don't know, like a part of me, I'm very surprised. I get like 28 games is like really hard, but it's really not. Because like the NBA
Not
plays
like
like every other
yeah.
night. Like it's gonna be over like in 3 months. Like calm down. Like,
But also to start the season with that, I think is bad too for your star player.
but I think like but look what you did because
But
you
no,
wanted
he deserved. Yeah, it's
yeah,
just
like
bad,
that's where I was like,
you know,
no,
looking.
this sucks for every other Grizzly player,
Yeah,
but maybe that's where they can tell him like you let us down. Like you just like
right.
screw you over. You let everyone on that
Yeah.
administration and organization down. And
Mm-hmm.
because and I think like what's so upsetting because I think like last year, if I remember correctly, like he was doing great in the playoffs. Like he was doing
No,
like he
yeah.
could be so like I think
No.
again like the Zion thing like I'm so upset because it's like these are the ones like we want the Jimmy Butlers and the like we want the new generation to come up and like we get so much like support behind them and then they do stupid stuff like this and it's like
Well, yeah, and that just goes back either them not wanting to play because they um
well, it's almost like they take it
are
for
tired,
granted.
but
Yeah.
it's like we fans pay money,
Yeah.
hard-earned money to go to watch you because you're our favorite player. And then you're not playing because either you don't feel like it or because you've done some stuff like injuries different. Or you've done
Injuries
some
totally
stuff
different.
that, yeah, you've done some stuff to where you're suspended and so you can't play. But now I had already bought my ticket because I want to see you. You know what I mean? So I hope he does learn from it. I hope both of them, get good people around them that can help talk with them. Um, so that they can have better seasons this year. I hope Zion comes back. Now there's talks of trade,
Which
possibly
is
from
crazy
the
because I think
Pelicans.
like how
I don't know who
quickly
else would
that
want
can
him.
yeah, I'm with
It
you.
happened,
Because it's
yeah.
like who else is gonna take that?
Because if I was another owner, I'd be like, they're getting rid of
I
you because
feel
of
like
what?
there would be a lot of like many stipulations involved to be like if we do this, the second X, Y, and like you will be in that locker room doing X, Y, and Z on Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday. Like I
Well,
would just
yeah,
yeah.
for Jaw, I think for Jaw, yes. I think for Zion, what it is like, are you going to do what you need to do to come
I
back?
like
If
don't know
you're
if
just
he's
not
like
gonna,
serious enough now. Like I
right,
think
because
there's
you're
like
not
that.
working out, you're not eating what you're supposed to, you know what I mean, to get yourself physically. A lot of people have said, players have said there's so much work that you have to do in the off season to get ready for the next season. And it doesn't seem like he, was doing that, but
No, I do.
we'll
And again,
see.
I think it's like they took advantage of it. And it was just like, I don't know. A part of me was like, did you not think this would catch up with you?
Right.
Like, did
And
you?
we'll see what happens because again, the NBA draft is coming up. So then that's another um class of guys coming in that are hungry. And
Aren't
so
the
who knows?
Spurs getting the first pick or the Spurs?
Yes, I think they did get the
Yeah, because they're gonna possibly get that like what
tall
six pick?
French. Is he
Yeah,
from France?
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But before we close out and head out, because we could keep talking and talking because we missed 2 months.
Made that for a long time.
Uh, but we're coming back and we're gonna be more consistent because just a lot's gonna be happening, but we're getting closer to the NFL, 53 days until preseason. So teams have started to go back onto the field. I think this is the time where it's not mini camp with it might be when like the rookies come out.
Yeah.
But like not mandatory workouts maybe or something like that. So local places are talking about their teams and stuff. And there's some talks nationally about it. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the big thing because he's with the new team this year. And so him just working. And I think so far from the last that I've heard, like him and their quarterback before him, I can't think of his name right now.
Wilson.
Yeah, are getting along or something,
I
or
think they are
someone
because
coming
okay,
in.
because Zach Wilson was all little like top little shithead and was like,
Getting
whoever
along.
they get in here, I'm gonna make them hell, like give them hell every day. And then I think Aaron said
But oh no,
at
never
a
mind.
press conference, he was like, we're doing on great. And you know what? He hasn't given me hell every day.
Right.
Yeah. Because
So we'll see.
I do feel almost Aaron was the best person to go to that because of that like
Well,
dynamic.
and I
I do
hope
think
they do have a great season. That would be great. to see. I mean, I don't want them to have an awesome season when it comes down to the end. I mean, I don't have any stakes on that side in that area until it comes down to the playoff Super Bowl. So,
Yeah.
but like you just said, another big news was the Chiefs got their rings. So they had their ring event where they got that. And then last week or the week before, they went to the White House. So if you didn't see that, it was a funny clip about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce because he went up
I
to the
really do
podium.
root for their friendship. Like they're
Yeah.
not my favorite team, but I definitely root for their friendship.
When I saw that, I thought it was all fun and games, but and it was funny when they said,
I think Travis, all he wanted to say is to my fellow Americans.
yeah,
because like, I just wanted to say that.
I was like, dang, that would have been fun, but he said something else, whatever he said.
He was like, I've always wanted to say this, and Patrick was like,
he just said it. But yeah, so they got their rings. That's their third ring. So we hope that that's not, they don't get one this year.
Yeah, I think we're done. Y'all are good.
Yeah, we're done with them for now. They can just have a good season, but you're not gonna win. But yeah, so what is there anything that you're looking for right now? I know we're just getting in me with the Saints, what Derek Carr is gonna do, how we're gonna do with that. But what are you looking for? I'm looking forward for it to just be back, honestly.
I know, I kind of have missed it. And I think I'm ready, y'all. I know I talk about it all the time. I'm just ready for Joe Burrow to get a Super Bowl. I'm really just waiting for him to just like get in there. There's also been some news with like the Bills and Stephon Diggs, I think. Like there's been kind of been some drama there that I'm curious to see because he is such a pivotal part to.
And I think he didn't go to a practice or a camp.
He wouldn't go to like the mandatory, but he was there for day 2. So, and then Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Bills, was kind of talking about how like he made something that everyone kind of was like, oh, this is internal. And so, but they was there on the second day. So I'm kind of curious to see that. I'm excited to see one. I'm excited to see Denver just under Sean Payton. I think I've talked about it. I was a Denver fan when Peyton Manning was there. So I'm curious to see. And we talked about how in our previous episodes that, you know, Russell Wilson really didn't show up to be a leader in a lot of aspects this year to the Broncos, and they got rid of the coach. And so now I think it's time to be like, okay, well, we got a Super Bowl winning coach here. If you don't perform well, I don't think you can't really, no one's going to fire Sean Payton after this year kind of situation. So I think I'm curious to see that, but he just posted an Instagram video yesterday of like his intense workout. So he's prepping. So I'm curious to see that.
Better locker room guy though, I think too. Not just
I think like he got rid of, because he would like have his own office in the locker. Like it was very like,
he didn't.
It was all like kind of messy. Like it was a big game of telephone. Like some people would be like, he doesn't talk to anyone, and then some people would be like, that's like my quarterback. I don't know what you're talking about. Like so, it was just like, I think there's just some little ironing out things. I'm curious to see how Aaron does in Green Bay. Derek Carr does in New Orleans. I think, and also like, this is, and again, I know we're trying to wrap up, but like, I noticed that the Odell talk has gone away.
Yeah, and isn't he with the Jets?
Is he? Because I like
he end up. Yeah, that
because I feel like it just went away, and I was like, but I feel like there was all this talk, and so like, is that might be my error, but like I don't. It says
Ravens. No,
so he went to the Ravens.
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense. Because I was like, what happened? Because well, to make up for my ignorance, it was like he would be meeting with everybody, and then so I'm glad
would do a workout. I think it is the Ravens.
So, but now Lamar Jackson has his big deal, and then and then Jalen, like he's going into Philadelphia with the big deal. So I'm like, there's a lot of, and again, we talked about it a lot this year on our podcast. Like, just the young guys are I think they're getting cemented, and like even Daniel Jones kind of started doing a little bit better at the end of with New York Giants. So I mean, again, I don't think he's going to be elite anytime
Yeah.
soon, but I think
As you were saying, the young guys, it's going to be interesting too to see Tua.
yes,
No, yeah, Tua. No, Bryce Young,
yeah,
because he's going to be starting quarterback. It's another Alabama, so that's why I got it mixed up with Tua.
yeah.
They both came from Alabama, but Bryce Young was drafted number one. But he's with the Carolina Panthers, and he did get the starting quarterback position, but everyone is talking because he is small for the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, oh,
But
well,
they
he
also
did
said that
great.
about, didn't they say that about Joe Burrow's hands? Do you remember that?
Yes, they were talking about his small
Like,
hands. Yeah.
don't doubt. I say what you want to say about this younger generation. I do feel like the
But
athletes
I mean, he's
have
done
had
great.
all the resources in the world that I'm like, I'm not counting again. I'm not
Right.
counting them out.
And he played, I mean, I know college is different from the pros, but Bryce Young came from the SEC. That's one of the biggest conference in college football. Like
Yeah.
those guys,
And it's
everyone that
Nick
plays in
Saban.
the
Like I don't
yeah, and
know.
it's Nick
I feel
Saban
yeah.
too. Yeah. So it'll just be interesting to see, and then to see how some of these analysts and reporters and stuff talk about him when he does well.
Yeah.
Because they're all like, oh, he's kind of small. I don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
Um, so that is gonna be interesting. When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, Bryce Young.
And then Mac Jones is kind of like trying to get the respect back in New England. So I'm curious to see what Belichick's going to do there. So I
Yeah.
think that, yeah, I think there's a lot too, and we could always like, and who knows what can unfold by the time it gets here. Because
Let's just hope that Tom Brady does not pop back up outside of going to a Raiders game, since he's part owner now, obviously.
he
Like,
has been very like, I'm done. He said it
in
before
Vegas.
now. Yeah.
Because
But
he has part ownership in the Aces, I think, and
yeah.
in the Raiders now. So maybe he's moving to Vegas. But
But
yeah,
I
I'm excited for
also
it.
right now um sorry. Oh my God. Sorry. Who was that? Sorry. I'm sorry. It's like Dustin Johnson. Sorry. He had a really good putt. But like again, all the golfers look alike. So you're just like, is that no, this is probably a good way to wrap it up because the College World Series is happening right now. And for those of you who don't know, LSU Tigers are there for the first time since 2017. And we beat Tennessee last night. Paul Skeens was amazing. I think he had 12 strikeouts.
They
Just
might have pitched him a little too long because it got a little nervous at the end.
yeah.
A little close at the end.
Yes, very close. He was flirting with the outside a lot at the end. But he's also 4 strikeouts away from breaking the record of most strikeouts in
We'll
a
get that
season.
tomorrow when they play Wake Forest.
Wait, what?
I said hopefully he'll get that tomorrow when he plays. Oh no, he can't pitch
You
tomorrow.
can't play. So hopefully
Yeah.
we get another chance to as we
To
win.
play, yes. If he can play Thursday.
So but I'm sure anyone who has social media is keeping up with the shots that the
Jello
shots
Yeah.
that are being
So
distributed by the
yeah.
fans.
Well, and it's a cool story, I think,
Yeah.
like what this bar does. So it's a local bar near the stadium, and every year they do Jello shots, and each of the team's fans, you're taking these shots for your team, and I think they
And it
donate
runs money
charity.
for food banks.
Yes, and then they donate that to the local food bank or food banks.
There's like a food bank there that it goes to,
Yeah.
and then it all goes to the proceeds of like the teams participating. So
Yeah.
that Energy's food bank would benefit. But I think it's
I hope they do. But yeah, so
I'm looking it up right now. As
they do updates every day too.
3 hours ago, we're at 10,474.
So LSU fans have been took that many shots.
The closest to us is Wake Forest
Who we
with
play tomorrow.
4,463. But again, we're in the tens, and this was 3 hours ago.
Right. And LSU fans will travel. baseball, basketball, football, like it doesn't matter. And I know in football season before, when they went to Georgia for the championship, and I think another time they traveled somewhere, like they like closed out a bar. Like they
Yeah.
drank up
But
everything
oh, it
within
was
hours.
Vanderbilt. It was Vanderbilt
Yeah, yeah.
because we had a day game or like it was something.
And it was
And
like
like,
within hours before you would even
yes,
think you would be out of liquor.
yes, they like were gone.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't, yeah,
the moral of the story is do not
don't underestimate.
challenge an LSU fan or Louisiana person, anyone from Louisiana, do not challenge them to a drinking contest.
Yeah.
And they will drink any fan. They will outdrink any fan. So that's a fun storyline going along with the World Series. And the further that LSU gets, I think that just doubles every day that they stay there. the the number of shots. But again, it goes for a great cause. They just
And
better
I
be
think
drinking their
we're like
water at the same
very
time.
I think the record is 18,000. So they're like, y'all are getting like, I'm like, oh, they're breaking it. Like,
Tomorrow.
like yeah.
Don't let them
This
win
time
tomorrow.
tomorrow, we will have that championship.
Right. If they win, I bet when they won yesterday, because it was such a close game at the end, like everybody was just at that bar taking shots.
Oh my God. I was sitting there and I had to like mute it at one point because you know how like announcers will just be like, Paul Skeens is doing great and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, like so what happened was a guy got a double, I think off of Skeens.
Yeah.
So he got called out. Like they were like, you did a great game, whatever. It's like top of the eighth at this point. And
Mm-hmm.
then the very next pitch on the new pitcher is a home run.
He's out. He's back out.
And like,
He's out.
yes, that guy was out. And they're
I
like,
was like,
well, the Bulls
"Hey."
are back in this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Because they were up
I was like,
five
well, that's
zero,
two hits.
which is
Yeah.
which is fun about baseball because especially when it gets a close game like that, because it was 5-0 the whole game. Top of
Yes.
the eighth, it was still five until like that last strike that he needed to get.
Yeah.
Um, and it quickly tied up like that, and the game changed, and you still had one more inning. And I think
Yeah.
that's when the fun part comes with baseball because you're never
I
out.
think it's like the fun part, but like I really just hate
Well,
again,
depending
it's
on if
probably
you're the
because it's
fan.
against my Tigers.
Yeah,
They're like,
if
oh,
you're a fan,
well,
it's
Tennessee's coming back. And I'm like,
yeah. But just
act
watching
like we
it,
don't get a chance to bat too. Like,
right? Yeah, that's
yeah,
almost like we still had two bats because
yeah,
you had the ninth if we needed to.
yeah. So I was like,
Yeah,
down. And so, of course, like I think Joe Bear hit a home run. So it became six. So it
yes,
was
when he
like,
came. If he didn't do that, it was a little. It was a
and
little.
then the guy, our closer, just came in and like did the
Do you know where he's
oh,
from?
so many toys. But
He's
yeah,
from
he
Cali.
wait, what?
Um, Riley. He's from California. The
Yeah,
closest.
no, he was, yeah, he came to play and he did his job.
I
And I
said,
was
yes,
like,
come on, Cali boy, finish it out for
finish it
for
out
them.
for it. Yes, no, that was
Yeah.
no, it was great to watch. So that's kind of the lighthearted of like
Yeah.
that has my attention for the next couple of
Yeah.
days.
So if you don't follow baseball, watch these games or at least follow on Twitter, like the College World Series, to see the shots, at least the Jello shots being taken. I think it's a fun story line to follow along with it. But
And again, it's for a good cause, so it kind of makes it a little.
yeah. So, but this was great. I know there is still so much more that we could talk about.
Yes.
But we will be back with more talks on sports and what's going on because again, this still is a fun time. Like there's hockey, which I don't know if that's over because I don't follow that as much, but I know it was just an exciting time this
But
last 4 months.
something happened because I think Colorado was still in it. And wait, no, they won. Las Vegas won. Las Vegas won.
Everything.
Yes. It happened
That
this
is it.
week. And the only
Yeah.
reason I knew that is because I used to work in fundraising and there was like a donor that we had like in Baton Rouge, but she like would be in Vegas during hockey season because that's like where her team was. So I
Yeah,
was
so
like,
it was a lot going. I was like, this is a fun time because they had hockey, they had baseball going into playoffs, the college
yeah,
baseball going into
the
playoffs,
BA.
while the NBA was finishing up, and that was a good series. Um, so, and then, you know, MLB was going on.
Yep.
So you just had a lot happening. And so I think a lot still is going to be going on because we have the draft coming up, but just as the NBA draft comes and then they're going to kind of be quiet over there, football starting up. So
Yep. So
we're in the mix of that and
we're not
gonna
going
have that.
anywhere.
So we'll be back to talk more, but thanks for joining me again. It's so
Yeah.
good to see you after 2 months and to be able
Yes.
to talk about sports that I've been bottling inside. Like,
Yes.
okay, we got to get to this, but just life
Well,
is
and what y'all
taking
don't know is
over.
that we almost couldn't do this because there was electricity issues, and it
Our,
was like, if we don't do it
both
today,
of our houses. We were like, okay, can you do it later? Okay.
yeah.
Power's back on. Thank you, God.
Yes.
So yes. Yeah, so thank you for just tuning in and we will see you guys next time. Bye.